My lords, there's just one more issue.
Yeah.
This is the Ratire Shathi issue that my lords had said that due to the fact.
Yes.
May I?
Yes.
Due to the fact that there was a civic volunteer that is the main accused, that the band of civilians that they are recruiting, that they should consider and perhaps disband. They have doubled down on that. And they have various notifications that I have placed in my application. Now, my lords, if I may point out the fact, they won't deny the fact that they have doubled down on that. But if I may point out the Calcutta High Court order that they are violating in this regard, saying that no law and order functions may be discharged by civic volunteers and such civilians. This court in Nandini Sundar also said that SPOs must be disbanded and that civilians cannot discharge these functions, my lord. So, my lords, we have placed 3 or 4 orders, if my lords will permit, to set aside then the Ratire Shati scheme. We have placed the application. If they would like to respond to it, we're happy to argue it on another date or today, whatever my
Nobody
lords.
is being now recruited in the manner in which that person who is involved in the crime was recruited. He was not recruited under the Private Security Agencies Regulation Act 2005, under which all the hospitals in India, including the public hospitals in Delhi, they are all recruiting under this act, which is an act which is meant for having the security agencies employed, which security agencies are licensed, and pursuant to that, they are employed. So now all recruitments are being done under this act as everywhere. So it's a central act, not our act.
My lord,
and
this
uniformly being applied everywhere in the entire country.
My lord, this act was interpreted.
Private Security Agencies Regulation Act 2005. I've got a copy of this.
এবার কি তবে পশ্চিমবঙ্গ থেকে সিভিক ভলেন্টিয়ারদের দাদাগিরির দিন শেষ হতে চলেছে? সিভিক ভলেন্টিয়ার যাকে সামনে রেখে পুলিশের নানাবিধ অবৈধ কাজের অভিযোগ রয়েছে সারা রাজ্য জুড়ে। ভবিষ্যৎ কি হতে চলেছে নিয়ম না মেনে অস্থায়ী পদে নিয়োজিত হওয়া সিভিক ভলেন্টিয়ারদের?
No, it's general.
It's really for the recruitment of private security guards. We had this in Maharashtra, I remember, called the Maharashtra Private Security Guards Regulation of Employment and Welfare Act. The first act in the country.
Like this Group 4, etc.
For private security.
At the home residential.
But they are now saying they're not recruiting anybody under this act at all.
My lords, in their affidavit, which we have somehow managed to read.
Why don't you do this? Next time you want to argue something, give everybody some notice of an application. Otherwise, we keep on springing up issues like this.
My lords, we served it 2 days ago. We served it 2 days ago.
Allow governments to function, we can't take over their powers over here. I mean, we are overall exercising some control. We are supervising, monitoring, because a very serious accident took place, very serious incident took place, sorry. But let them do their work on the ground and come back to us, report to us on the next.
My lords, just on this point, if my lords may then ask them, number one, are they recruiting such people? Because in para 5 of the affidavit,
they're not recruiting anybody under the Act of 2005.
No, we are recruiting under 2000. Earlier it was they were being
private security. Why should they recruit under the Act of 2005?
Under administrative orders, they were being recruited, and they were not.
Private security.
They were mainly meant. This gentleman who is, I am using this expression, gentleman is not yet convicted. So he was not recruited under this act. He was recruited under the government notifications, administrative orders issued by the police. So now they were not meant, he was not posted even in the hospital. So it's not that somebody who is deliberately chosen and posted in the hospital, he has done something other than he was not being supervised. So that was
my lord, the CBI charge sheet said he was.
With these civic volunteers of the sort that
they are not
in their current affidavit, they have said so, my lords. In their current affidavit.
This act.
How many such civic volunteers do you have in West Bengal?
1,514 at last count.
We have given the figures which your lordships have mentioned in the order.
But how are they recruited? Who recruits them actually?
This is now under the security agencies.
These 1,500 civic volunteers whom you have, Who recruits them? What are their qualifications?
So it is the security agency which recruits.
Kolkata police
They are either the retired.
recruiting them, my lord.
Where notification
private security
civic volunteer
agencies,
was
they
appointed,
recruit,
and that
and
notification
private
was under
security
challenge before
agencies
the Calcutta
possibly
High
are
Court.
registered under this.
So this civic
Act.
volunteer,
So the people are not
this
selected by the
person who committed the crime was a civic volunteer, supposedly.
Yes.
Now,
Civic volunteer.
under what was he recruited?
My lord, they recruited through a notification, my lord.
That's a government
audible, my lord?
notification.
They were recruited under this government
And that
order
notification
dated
was under
26
challenge
September
before Kolkata High
2011
Court, my lord.
administrative level by the police. They were
Am I
not.
audible, my lord? Sorry.
It was
that.
posted
So,
at the hospital.
Still continuing with
No,
that.
they are not being
All in
recruited
their affidavit,
or posted
my
in the
lord,
hospital.
at para 5.
All posting in the hospital.
He was posted in the hospital.
But are you recruiting these people generally under that 2011 government order?
And my lords,
But
what is
not
the verification done? The man had cases against him, particularly of domestic violence. None of that verification is done when a man is appointed as a civic volunteer, which gives him access, including a motor.
Therefore, Mr. Dwivedi, on the next occasion, we want this to be flagged. How many civic volunteers do you have? What is the verification of antecedents that you do? Where are they posted? Are you posting them
Now
in
the
school?
civic volunteers are not being posted.
Will join their place of duty.
Where else are they being posted?
They control the police stations. The entire police station is now run by the civic volunteers.
So tell us-
Ratire Shathi, night duty.
Tell us,
We'll file an affidavit.
the civic state of West Bengal shall file an affidavit on the, before the next date of listing, explaining, bracket 1, the legal source of authority for the recruitment of civic volunteers in the state, semicolon, bracket 2, the modalities for recruitment, semicolon, the qualifications for recruitment, semicolon, bracket 4, the verification of
Procedure,
antecedents which is carried out before recruitment is made, semicolon, bracket 5, the institutions in which the civic volunteers are assigned duties, semicolon, and bracket 6, the payments made to civic volunteers, whether on a daily or monthly basis, and the budgeted outlays in that regard. Full stop. The affidavit shall specifically disclose the selection process which is followed for the recruitment of the civic volunteers and the steps which have been taken to ensure that such volunteers do not operate in any event in sensitive establishments such as hospitals and schools,
So great.
which may be which may be particularly vulnerable.
Or police
to
stations,
the,
my lords. My lords, or police stations, my lords may consider. Hospitals, schools, or police stations.
Let us file the affidavit, then. Let us file the affidavit, then.
You first file your affidavit, we want to know what are you doing, because otherwise this is a nice process of conferring political patronage on people who are totally unverified and
We're so grateful, my lords.
So this particular person,
The affidavit shall specifically disclose whether any of the civic volunteers are assigned duties in or in connection with police stations or the investigation of crime.
because the vehicle assigned belongs to the police commissioner, it's registered in his name. His job apparently was to assist police personnel in the hospital and their families. And he has complete access and lives in a barrack adjacent to the hospital. So it's wrong to say that he's not associated and not given.
Something we want to look at closely.
My lords.
One more thing is that
Let them first disclose the data, then we will hear your submissions.
My lord,